I'm not a coder. I've not written one line of professional code. Through Gen AI, whatever I could not achieve in 6 years or 7 years, I could do it in 2 months.
When I was going through your profile and other research on you, I came across so much that I lost count as to which one should be my first question. What boundaries do you think we shouldn't cross even when AI says yes?
We all don't love the Ghibli studios or Miyazaki for the outcome. We love it for the philosophy and the spirit of it. If not, it is like a fake currency printing machine. That's what this Ghibli art is all about.
A 400-acre forest land is being cut to build skyscrapers and to build industrial land. How can AI and AR be used to reduce deforestation? How did you manage your corporate career along with the creative part as well?
Most of us do day in and day out. So some of them watch Netflix, some of them play tennis, you go to the gym. This is my way of my own time.
I want to ask you, you mentioned your next project you're aiming for Egypt. Why next project Egypt?
The Egyptian history or Egyptology was born itself is very interesting. It is.
How was it born?
It was from Napoleon, and there is a Tipu Sultan connection as well to that. I'll come to that now.
Sunil, a very, very warm welcome to our home here. That is the AIM TV studio. How are you doing?
Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot for inviting me. And this is such a privilege. I kind of wanted to be in this show. And doing great. Thank you.
We're absolutely delighted to have you here. It's a bright early morning. So let's kickstart. When I was going through your profile and your LinkedIn and other research on you, I came across so much that I lost count as to which one should be my first question. But the first one that I want to put across to you is a question which is a very relatable one, which is something that a lot of other people will relate to as well, because so many youngsters love traveling, but they also have a corporate job and they really struggle to take out time to do the other one, which is traveling. How were you able to do all the things on the road while having a consistent ongoing corporate career?
Fine. So I started my journey into, let me take a step back. I started my corporate journey in 2005. I started with GE and right after my master's, and I did my cycling tour in 2016.
Oh, so it's pretty much the same story. It's an 11-year gap.
Exactly, right? So, and I took a gap year, but I didn't want it to be a gap year. I wanted to explore, build on my skills. And at that point of time, I was kind of wanted to specialize myself in Triz. I wanted Triz to be my brand. Who was Sunil? Sunil is known as a Triz expert. And so I started working on it. And I was also part of, I was an influential voice of quality for American Society of Quality. So through that collaboration and contacts, they got me some assignments that I could do through my journey. So then when I kickstarted from Thailand to Portugal, in most of these countries, they had their independent chapters of American Society of Quality, and some of the chapter councils would give me some assignments. They would request me to conduct either a workshop, because everyone is curious. Hey, there are these two travelers who are coming on a bicycle. Why don't we call them an invite? So it was not really a gap year. Actually, I was working, and it really went well on my CV as well, because how many people can say that they have worked across 18 countries as a consultant over a period of 500 days, right? So I could do that. So that way, it was no more a gap year.
Lovely. As people say, on-ground experience. It was quite literally on-ground experience across 18 countries. When it comes to our TG and our audience as well, when we put across that we are doing a podcast with you, many are aware of what Triz is and what it does. But there's also a certain section of the society who might not be aware. Mm-hmm. So if we have to ask you to explain to a layperson in simple terms, what is Triz and what does it do?
Okay. Triz works very similar to the concept of machine learning, right? But without any systems, it's all very analog with hands and papers and pen. So in the 1980s, there was this Russian clerk who was sitting in his office, and all the innovations came to his table because he was a clerk and he had to stamp on them for patents. And when he saw all the innovations, he started observing patterns. He's like, okay, they all look similar. And he came up with a set of principles that said, okay, using these 30 principles, that is how everyone innovates. So if you know these 30 principles, you are an innovator. And the foundation of trust is how you define a problem. We call it as a contradiction. You try to improve something, and while trying to do that, something worsens. The best example is, I want to be on the road, go on a trip, but I give up on my financial stability and security, right? So that is a contradiction. And for a similar contradiction, I go to the database and check who has solved for a similar contradiction in some other field. And so when I look through the database, I get a lot of solutions for it. I take the principle and apply it here. That's as simple as that. So that is TRIZ.
Lovely. Okay. I want to ask you, you've cycled more than 30,000 kilometers across 18, 20 countries, as you've mentioned. You've lived personally with 200 different families and homes that you didn't even know personally. And on road, you wrote books as well. Was there anything that you were looking for? Was there an answer that you were finding and searching for? What was it that you were looking for on road?
I was not looking for answers, but I was an observer. The unknown is beautiful, right? Because you can't plan for the next day or even the next 1 hour. You don't know if someone is going to let you pitch your tent in their yard in the next 1 hour or two. So, for example, sometimes we sleep in a suite room someone gave us, or sometimes we slept in a police station, sometimes in a mosque, sometimes in a church. So I was not looking for anything, but the beauty is in the experience itself of the unknown. So yeah, I was looking for the unknown, to answer that.
And what did you find?
It was fascinating. I became more humble, patient, started embracing ambiguity, and we live in such a beautiful world, but surrounded by kind people. We traveled for 500 days, over 30,000 kilometers, and I spent less than $5 a day.
Crazy.
And of these 500 days, just twice we stayed in a paid accommodation, because one was our anniversary, and the second one because we wanted to. If not, it would have been 500 out of 500 days. So we live in such a beautiful world. That's my finding.
When you say we, I know because before we started rolling, I was talking to him. But tell us, the viewers also, who's the other part of the we?
It's my wife. She's a Japanese, Yuka Yokozawa. She's, in fact, the primary author of the second book. I'm a co-author for that. The book is about the memoir of the 200 families that we met. So, yeah, my wife, Yuka, though she's a Japanese, she was working in London, and she was fascinated with India. She used to, almost every summer, winter holiday, she used to be in India, and we met in Kargil. I know it's not the right place you're going to meet your better half, but yes, we met in Kargil, and we shared the same passion for travel, and she used to hike, and I was into cycling. So yeah, we got married.
And tell me, where exactly did you guys meet in Kargil?
In a momo shop.
I love it.
So she ordered a plate of momo, and I was in the queue. I thought, okay, now she's going to let me order, but no, she went for the second and then the third. I was like, wow, I like her already.
I love this story. In the age of apps and right swipes and left swipes, this is one of the most romantic stories I've heard in a long time. Love it. The kindness that you mentioned. I've been an anchor for 10 years now. Thankfully, because of my profession, I've had to travel a lot. And there was this one tour that I was doing across Punjab, 5 cities in Punjab, where we were shooting over a month. And I had people whom I had never met before. And they welcomed me into their houses, and I was eating with them, and I was talking with them and chatting with them as if they've known me for years. And it's not just in Punjab. The same experience happened in Guwahati and a lot of other places in India as well. It's a phenomenal country that we have, India.
Absolutely.
Tell us, 18 countries, so many years, so many families, so of course, multiple experiences. But tell us 1-2 of those experiences that really stand out.
The topmost is Iran, because as you mentioned, the hospitality of India, we have exchanged a lot of cultures between Persia and India, especially being a history buff. The period that I love for Indian history is between the 12th and the 15th century, which is the Indo-Persian, the Mughal Empire. There was so much of cultural exchange that happened. I think most of the travelers would agree that Iran is one of the most hospitable countries in the world. And one experience was, we were tired sitting in a cafe. Then one guy comes with his wife and kid, and he says, "Where are you going next? I can give you a ride." And we get in, and we see that his wife is pregnant, and he's a simple pickup truck driver, and he's not a well-off family. Then he takes us to some scenic places around with his family. Then he comes home and he says, "Why don't you just stay with us?" And they don't have enough food to eat. We can see that, literally. The wife goes and picks some food from the neighbors, and I can see him taking money for the watermelon from the neighbors. And they made a beautiful platter for us, and we were feeling really guilty, like it should be the baby inside, the food belongs to them. So this was really touching for us. And the next day he went and dropped us to our next destination, which was a few hundred kilometers. This was fascinating. This was one. And I would say every country, the funniest thing is every country says that we are the most hospitable one and the next two are not, but it's not true. Every country is equally hospitable and we have such people everywhere.
So, Sunil, I want to ask you, of course, massively great and fond memories, of course. But during all of the travel, were there a couple of bad experiences also?
Oh, yeah. So 99% of the days are good days, except that you have this 1%, which when we look back at it, it's this one. We moved almost to the border of Georgia when things were not that calm in Turkey. And in the last village in Turkey, which was supposed to be really calm, we were staying with someone who hosted us. And morning we wake up, he said, "Don't go out. Just now 3 policemen were killed by 6 terrorists in the same lane." They all heard the gunshots. And we are like, but I had a consulting meeting with one of the US clients that day, and this house didn't have internet. So I had to go to a nearby hotel. I go to the hotel, get into the call, and it's a glass door on the main road. That's the only road in that village. And I asked my wife to go back. But typical, she's going into the bazaar, clicking pictures, etc. Like, why she has to do that while I'm still on the car, seeing from the glass door? In 5 minutes, a huge army tanker comes and stands in front of me, facing the building. And then the strange thing about Turkey is when you tell the people there is a terrorist or there's a bomb or something there, they run towards it instead of running away from it. So all the people gathered.
The general people also?
The general people. So they're all looking at this one. So the first thing that struck me was, my wife is a Japanese. Maybe they have captured her or something. And I dropped my call and I'm running through the crowd. I literally had tears flowing that time. And I'm asking them, is it Japanese? Is it in? They're saying, no, the 3 terrorists have been caught there, but I still can't find her anywhere. Then I go in one of the dessert shops, she's eating baklava and I'm crying. The first question she asks is, "Oh, these baklavas are so good. Do you want to try them?" So, yeah, these were some of the really bad moments, but when I turn back, it's funny now.
I love it. Your wife's quite the foodie, isn't she?
We both are.
The momos and the baklavas. So I want to ask you this one question, that after all the experiences that you had on road, what was it that gave birth to the idea of what you're doing right now with AI and with AR and all the forestry which is happening at your home right now in Wayanad? Tell us what led to that idea. What gave birth to that idea?
So once we completed the trip, in fact, there are multiple angles to it. Like, for example, my education gave me the first layer, which is, for example, if you come into my AR forest, you see pages of different shapes, artistic layouts in the spatial design. For example, one is a Fibonacci spiral, which is the images go around a tree.
Wow.
Like how you have the peppers growing around a tree, which needs a complex formula for Fibonacci spiral, which is what I learned from physics, which is my master's. Then I learned all the business acumen from the different jobs that I have been doing through my career. The last one that led me to the completion that filled these gaps was this trip. Humility, being humble. You're still a leader, but you're calm, you're more composed, patience, etc. Now, when I bring all these skills together, I wanted to give something back in memory, leave it as a legacy of these stories. We don't, especially in the current world where, we have the different debates going based on the religious discriminations, etc., numerous things. But I wanted to leave this story and started off with the moment we got into the forest in Wayanad after our trip, we decided, okay, this is the right space for us. We are going to convert this into a museum for all the people. And the initial idea was to hang the actual photos. We kind of laminated them, etc., hung it. And that is when we had just moved to Wayanad. And that time we didn't know that this place has 8 months of rain. It has problems with monkeys and wildlife, etc. The very first week, rains, monkeys tore off half our installations and etc. Then for almost 6-7 years, I was exploring how can we make it real? And I had worked on Unity virtual reality during my road tour. That was because once I complete a project with some organization in Lean, there is something called as a Gemba walk. What it means is you go to the actual place. If you work in a shop floor, you go to the actual shop floor and see what is the problem. It comes from the Japanese word, which is the place of actual scene where the crime has happened. So that time I had my initial touch with Unity virtual reality. But after that, nothing. And then I thought that, okay, maybe augmented reality could be one of the solutions. But I'm not a coder. I've not written one line of professional code except from some hobby projects that I've been interested on. So after 6 years is when Gen AI came. And through Gen AI, whatever I could not achieve in 6 years or 7 years, I could do it in 2 months, thanks to Gen AI. So it's a combination of all of these.
You call yourself a solopreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, what is it that the project does? What is it that the firm does? And you can explain in as layman terms as possible, because I want to figure out how does it work? Like if a person who is to go to the forest where you have created the museum is there an AR headgear? And then they walk through the forest, and then what are the experiences? Tell us a little about that.
Sure. So more than a solopreneur, because solopreneur still gives a business touch to it, I'm an artist. I would say I'm a solo artist. And what I do is I integrate literature, art, and technology together, with art and literature being the topmost. Technology is an enabler for me. The best use case of my own forest is the moment you come inside the forest, the book that we have published is spread across the forest by countries.
There's a headgear for that?
You can use a headgear, or you can use your simple Android device, anything. It works on, it's developed on Unity. And the moment and each tree, we have close to, I think, 300, 400 trees in our forest. Each tree has a Japanese kanji character. So that is my motif. So motif is something that symbolizes the art form. So each Japanese character represents wind, tree, leaf, season, or it's part of a dream as well, because the whole art vision has different perspectives to it. It's like you're walking inside a book, or you're walking inside a dream, or you're walking inside a memory, or primarily these three. So the moment you enter and scan your mobile device, and the moment it detects any of these kanji characters, in different artistic forms, you see the people associated with these stories coming alive, flowing in the air, like they're hung to the tree with strings. And then you have the pages of the book that is coming to you. So there are different experiences. One, if a kid is going into this one, they would be interested in these characters, right? The backgrounds, the street food vendors of a trip, of a journey. So that is one. The second, if someone actually wants to read the book, this is a different experience where you sit in a bench, you just move your mobile device, the pages are coming to you, you read page by page. And so this is another different experience. This is what we do. We have done with our own book in the forest. And apart from that, I have developed different ideas for, one is, as I told, I am into Egyptology. So another vision that I have is because Egypt is one of the largest histories, right? So it is like to give just a gist of how big Egyptian history is. From the first king of Egypt to the last dynasty of Cleopatra, we are more closer to Cleopatra than was Cleopatra to the first dynasty.
I've heard this.
Right? So it is so vast. So the idea was to put these spatial installations through the Nile River. So I've just contacted someone in Egypt who is associated with the Egyptian universities and museum. So across the Nile River, you keep scanning, and you actually go through the history of the entire 3,300 years. So that is one. So these are the different projects that how I'm thinking of using the spaces.
Very fascinating. How big is the forest in Wayanad?
Mine is 2.5 acres.
how easy was it to, like, what did you do? Did you lease it? Did you buy it? How did that happen?
We bought it.
Okay.
So during our journey, we had kind of decided that, okay, our future is not going to be in a city. We want to live a very sustainable life, conserve. And especially my wife is a Japanese, and they come from the philosophy is Shintoism along with Buddhism. And Shintoism is all about nature, protecting trees and etc. So we always wanted to settle somewhere close to the nature, away from the city buzz, etc. And we started exploring places like Kur, Guti, etc. And this one was the most remote because it was not a farm; it was an actual forest. It had a small waterfall in it, so why not? So we settled there.
Lovely. Have you guys commercialized it yet? Can people enter, purchase, buy something, and then take a trip of the forest? Has that started? Is that a plan?
Not really. So I call it as a private collection it's a private collection museum. So people do come by invite. So you can request to come to and visit our farm. You have a place to stay as well, etc. So we don't have a bigger commercial angle per se, but yes, it could be an Airbnb, something like that. But we do invite people, and people do contact us who wants to come and visit the museum, and they take a walk. But it's a private collection. It's like any private collection museum. It's by the invite.
You've been in this line for a fair amount of time now. You've traveled so much. How can AI and AR be used to reduce deforestation? Because there is such development happening in the country, but there is also a cost to it. I'll give a small little example. In our mother channel, in our main channel, which is called AIM TV, we made a recent video as to why Hyderabad is one of the leading GCC hubs right now, and close to 350 GCCs in Hyderabad. But a line of comments that we got on that video from people who live in Hyderabad, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, is that is happening, but a 400-acre forest land is being cut to build skyscrapers and to build industrial land, and they were not happy about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
The similar thing happened in Mumbai a few years back when 200 people were on the road close to 30-60 days when the RA forest colony was about to be cut, but they prevented it. Mm-hmm. So how crucial it is to make sure that deforestation is reduced, and how can AI and AR play a role in that to happen?
So first to acknowledge, it's really sad. It's really sad. Especially I was born and raised in a city and have been used to seeing trees being chopped, and if I was the kind of, and once you start seeing something more often, it becomes a normal, right? Okay, trees, okay, they're getting chopped every day. That's about it. When I moved to our own land, and it was a much denser forest, and we moved 6 years back, and I can already see the density of the trees coming down. And it's not just the cities. It's the people who have been living in these, and even the tribes. We are surrounded by some of the tribe colonies. Even they do it. It's really a sad thing, and it's so unfortunate that of the overall 30-40 acres, I think ours is one of the very few which is still so densely maintained and etc. If not, you see that these trees getting chopped and the cottages etc. coming up. I don't know if I can answer for the overall global problem. But at least from an artistic perspective, what we have done is each of these trees are mapped with the kanji characters, are mapped to the Polygon blockchain. So what happens is if one of the trees is lost, the story is gone.
Right.
So you miss a page from your overall story. So which means that, in fact, that's why we call it as the breathing book. Because at one point of time, when all the last tree dies, there is no more story. Everything is done. It's only in the blockchain now. Tagging these trees to the blockchain and etc. is one way it can be mapped, because it's going to stay there forever. And especially the one that is getting extinct, I think blockchain is a fantastic way of mapping them and keeping them intact and tracking them as well. Hey, we were supposed to have 1,000 here, and how many do we have now? And the forest department can audit it. If not, it's all gone and vain.
I want to ask you, how did you manage your corporate career along with the creative part as well, and along with the travel? How were you able to make sure that both go hand in hand and not one suffers?
Let me talk about the artist part of it. That is something that most of us do day in and day out. So some of them watch Netflix, some of them play tennis, you go to the gym, right? So this is my way of my own time.
Nice.
So that is this project. And the good thing is, as any hobby, like how you're working out and you build it brick by brick. And once you see a wall coming up, that is when you say that, okay, this is going somewhere.
The motivation.
The motivation,
Exactly.
right? Okay, this is something big and it has a potential to be big. So that is one. And second one is, as a corporate career and travel part of it. So I quit my job for this travel, and I was, maybe it was the age, when you're still in your youth, you're bold enough. So I thought, okay, I am sure I'm going to get something, find something, and let me just go and explore it, and just jumped into it and well prepared for it at the same time, where made sure that I have enough audience who are going to listen to me. I have enough projects in the pipeline. So it really helped me out.
That's great to hear. I want to ask you, you have automated creativity in so many of your multiple projects. So not just repetitive tasks, but imagination itself through your work. So what boundaries do you think we shouldn't cross, even when AI says yes?
So AI definitely accelerates creativity, but we also need to be really careful, especially from an artistic perspective. It flattens creativity as well.
I agree.
Right? If it flattens a lot. So what AI does is, the entire artistic vision and mindset runs on ambiguity, right? If you see something ambiguous like a dream or a memory, you want to bring it into reality. But the moment you ask something with a generative AI, it is far more intelligent than you to give 100 perspective, which means that whatever was ambiguous is becoming more predictable. So, and more predictable it becomes like what we have as the Ghibli art we are seeing now is, yes, it's great, but we all don't love the Ghibli studios or Miyazaki for the outcome. We love it for the philosophy and the spirit of
True.
it, right? If not, it is just a machine that is like a fake currency printing machine. That's what this Ghibli art is all about.
So I want to ask you, because there's this conversation and also there's this video that went viral, which started off itself saying, where is the AI that helps me do my taxes? Where is the AI that helps me find a job? Now, of course, there are platforms and tools that do those also, but they're not making the headlines. The headline is only being created when it's AI making music, when it's AI writing scripts, when it's AI doing the creative bit. And then that video and the person spoke of, these are the things that human beings want to do. Human beings want to take out time to do these things. So where are the AI that can help me take care of those mundane tasks so that I can put my head into creativity like this? So if I have to ask you, which are some of the industries where you think AI should actually be implemented the most, and which are maybe some of the industries that can be left because the human touch is the best touch for those?
But rather than talking about industries, let me give my own personal perspective, because if I take this museum project, it had every component. It had a creative component, it has a coding component, it has a development, etc. And this is how I practically did it. So I have ChatGPT open. I first brainstorm. I asked ChatGPT, hey, I have this 2.5 acre forest. I need to convert this. What are the best ideas? Give me the list of options. I brainstorm it. Then once it gives a list of brainstorming ideas, as a human, I choose which one works for me.
Right.
And then I take that idea and I don't use the same context or the chat window. I go to the next one and say, hey, for this idea, give me the list of requirements that I need to give it to my coder. It gives a detailed set of requirements. And then taking these requirements, and this is where I don't use ChatGPT, I use Copilot. Copilot is really good with providing the right codes. I give these requirements to Copilot, and it gives me a fantastic code that I can immediately go and put it on Unity, and it's done. So if you look at the overall end-to-end life cycle, start from brainstorming, prototyping, and concept building, until the time, and even testing, right? So end-to-end it is done. So AI you can collaborate with AI, but I don't think AI can replace these tasks which needs a lot of skill.
Can you tell us about some of those tasks? Mention one or two of those.
The entire vision of the one I told about, the Fibonacci spiral. AI doesn't know. For AI, it doesn't, just putting a simple pieces of image on a circle or on a spiral, both are same for it. It doesn't know that which is going to wow me as a customer. So that is number one. And second thing is, it takes time for AI. I need to educate AI to show that, hey, what actually the kindness of these 200 people means. It needs a lot of context setting. It doesn't understand that. And only then it can start generating the answers and etc. That what we are looking for.
You once said a very fascinating quote. I'll read out. Don't move people to stories, move stories to people. In short, if you can tell us a little, elaborate on that line.
Sure. This was again, I was stuck. So it was decided that, okay, I'm going to use augmented reality for my museum project. And then the first attempt, the first use case was ready. All the target images are hung. And when I'm walking through, I had a problem. The idea was it should be like walking into an actual museum. The images are static. They come and you're walking through the museum like any art gallery. However, what was happening was as I scanned, the images are moving along with me. I'm literally carrying the images, and because that is the accuracy of the platform and the apps that we have as of today, and because it goes through the GPS, etc. And especially in the forest, the GPS accuracy is really, really low. So this was a huge problem. And then when I gave this problem to Triz, it said, instead of the user moving to the images, why don't you bring those images to the user? That is when we thought, okay, yeah, this is brilliant. Where a user is sitting on the table, watching a tree, and the pages and the images start coming to him. And then it became more artistic. Like, okay, if the image is just straight away coming, why don't I make it more artistic? Why don't I make a semicircle out of it? Or why don't I make a spiral out of it? And then it became, until then it was a simple static museum, but now it is a huge art installation.
I want to ask you, you mentioned your next project, you're aiming for Egypt. Why next project Egypt? India, there are so many things. Don't you think this same technology can be utilized in actual museums and places of heritage, monuments? No?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, there are a couple of Indian authors itself who I'm collaborating and in discussions with. And I would be, so for example, our dream is to put our art installation in Biennale and all the literature festivals. So that is something already in talks. The reason for Egypt is it's been, I don't know, for over a decade, I'm been reading in and out of Egyptology for various reasons. One is it's so continuous. The architecture and everything is so well preserved because of its landscape, the temperature, etc. And it is so, and every single, I would say, most of every single king, right from the first one, Namur in 3300 BC till Cleopatra, everything is so well preserved to a very larger extent. And the way the Egyptian history or Egyptology was born itself is very interesting. It is.
How was it born?
It was from Napoleon in 1700s. So when Napoleon wanted to fight against the British, so he was a crazy historian. No one knew about it. Along with him, he took close to 100 historians, scientists, and painters. And Egypt was a subject that was really within him. And there is a Tipu Sultan connection as well to that. I'll come to that now. So when he went to Egypt to defeat the fight against the British, actually he lost the battle, but still came out saying he claimed that he won it. Though he lost it, all his team of scientists and everyone, that was the first time they started studying Egyptology.
Wow.
And they saw the pyramids and etc. And until then, nobody even knew the language. It was from Napoleon. There was a French translator who actually translated, deciphered in 18th century. Just imagine, I'm talking about 3300 BC kingdom, something that is getting deciphered in the 18th century, right? It is so long. And yeah, so the Tipu Sultan connection is after Egypt, he wanted to come to India. And if he had, maybe the history might have changed because the British would have, there's one, and Tipu Sultan wrote a letter to him, but unfortunately he couldn't. He lost in Syria and he came back.
I want to ask you, you're building immersive books that you can read while sitting and walking in the middle of a forest. You are integrating kanji characters, which are triggering AR narratives. So is this a time, are we witnessing a future where humans will learn, feel, remember in completely different styles, ways, ways that we have gotten used to.
True. If you look at the way we consume content as of today, one is someone asked me, how different is this from making a movie out of the book, whatever you have written? So every medium has its own purpose. Movie, it creates focus and entertainment. I would say primarily focus. You're going to be focused for an hour or two, or if it's a web series, couple of hours. Book gives you the freedom of pace, reading, and this gives you a freedom of space, which means that you can go through spatially. You can literally walk inside a book. And
True.
so that is a different way of consuming a content.
Absolutely. We are almost towards the end of the podcast.
Uh-huh.
But of course, as all of our podcasts, we are going to end it with a quick rapid fire.
Okay.
The questions will be rapid.
I'm nervous.
And we want the answers to be rapid as well. All right. So, Sunil, are you ready?
Yes.
Cool. One word that people use to describe you, but you disagree with.
Techie. They call me a techie, but I consider myself an artist. I don't know.
A book that completely changed your worldview.
Lot of history books, especially on Egyptology, and I love all books of William Dalrymple.
A weird idea that you still haven't built on yet.
Digitizing creativity for artists, and two, I would say, and the second one is a museum of mistakes. So every innovation that was about to come true but it stopped for some mistake, create a museum with the same concept.
One daily habit you wish you could automate.
Convey my complex ideas, simplify them through AI.
Your wife, Yuka, right?
Yeah.
Your wife, Yuka's one complaint about you that's actually true.
I start too many experiments, but I don't complete them.
If the next book wasn't about innovation, what would it be about?
It would be about something to do with history. History and travel.
Sunil, it was such a delight to have this conversation with you. I am dead sure that our viewers think the same way as well. How was the chat for you?
It was lovely. I enjoyed it. It was more like chatting with a friend, just that we don't have a drink. It's not,
We don't have a drink.
I can't say over a drink.
We have coffee. We had coffee.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I'm very, very intrigued to experience the AR experience of the Wayanad forest myself. He has invited me already to Wayanad. So
Yeah.
we are going to make that happen soon.
Absolutely, please do. And maybe let's do the same thing in our forest. A similar
Would love
podcast
to.
in the outdoors. The sounds of the birds and the careful, the monkeys might take your cameras.
We'll be careful with that. Sunil mentioned that if you guys are looking for an offsite, I'm dead sure that the team could do with an offsite. What better place than Wayanad? Do tell us in the comments, how did you find this podcast? And of course, subscribe to Hot Seat by AIM TV for more such exclusive content just like this. This is me, your friend Korak, and Sunil.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And thanks for this opportunity. I loved it. Enjoyed it. Please subscribe to AIM. And looking forward for our next collaboration.
Same here. See you guys.